Hi, welcome back to Ask the Trade Pros. It's your favorite show where a couple of trade guys just talk, mostly about trade stuff. We're here to answer your questions about your HVAC, your electrical, plumbing, or any other home system so that you can enjoy your home and keep it running smoothly. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Todd.
Today we're answering a listener question from Nick. Nick called in and said, I have a light switch in my house that doesn't seem to do anything. Why is it here? And shouldn't I be using this light switch for something I don't know about?
Thanks, Nick. Light switches that seemingly don't do anything can be a weird feature in a home. But there might be a few reasons as to do...
It's haunted. That's the reason. It's a haunted house.
Yeah, there might be a few reasons, and Jordan's going to let you know what those reasons are. We were joking a few minutes ago about this, but it might not be a light switch at all. Could be a switch for something else.
Yeah, a lot of homes will have controlled outlets, so it's a switchable outlet, and sometimes it's the whole outlet, sometimes it's one plug on the outlet, especially if it's an older home. For some reason, they didn't do the whole outlet, they just did one plug. But the switch might control that plug, and if you just don't have something plugged into it, and it's not labeled, and you've never tested it, you just won't know what it goes to. You only find out when you plug something in and hit the switch by accident.
Yeah, and depending on the age of the home, it could be that the previous homeowner did some remodeling or did an addition and bypassed the wire. It used to control something else that's no longer used, or the wire got cut out. You never know. Jordan already mentioned the switched outlet. It could be on newer homes. What they tend to do is in every bedroom, if you have a pre-wired for a ceiling fan and there's not a ceiling fan, so one switch would go for the fan, one switch would go for the ceiling fan light if it had one, and the third switch is typically the switched outlet.
So it's even weirder than that, because a lot of fans, even on newer homes, I just did one. The fan, there's, like you said, there's two switches for the fan and the fan light, but most modern fans don't even need that. The remote controls the light, and then you have one switch, so the light switch might just sit there empty or capped off.
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of times the third switch for the switched outlet, if on older homes, and not even older homes, just depending on if any work was done or outlet was replaced, they might not wire in that switched outlet they may not want it. So that could be the switch as well that seemingly goes to nothing.
Yeah, they can control outlets, other circuits. Sometimes they're two-way switches, three-way switches, four-way switches that people have disconnected because they're too confusing. So perhaps you had a switch on one side of the room that controlled the light and the switch on the other side of the room, and they didn't know how to wire it together, so they just unwired it and left it unworking.
Yeah, we see that a lot of times with three-way switches that nobody can figure out how to wire them. So it's just one switch turns it on, and then you have to go to the other side to shut it off, or if one side's up, the light won't work at all.
Well, I saw one room where they had a four-way switch, which means it has three switches, and every three walls of the room had a switch. It was like a kind of circular kind of atrium room, like entering the house, but it was ridiculous. It's like, really? You couldn't walk? I mean, you needed a switch on every door?
Yeah. Well, they didn't want to walk a few feet to the next one to switch it off.
Could be ghost switch. Could just be the switch itself doesn't work. So it's supposed to be doing something, but the switch is broken.
Yeah, you never know. So you obviously, if you don't know electrical, you're going to want to call somebody to have them look and come open it up to see if there's even wires in the box or if it's connected, and
it's just a hidden safe.
See if maybe that switch opens the false door, and then there's a big vault in there that's full of gold. You never know. But I'd see if there's wires going to it, see if there's power going to it for one. And
so something a listener could do easily. I don't know if they want to pull the wall apart and start looking for live wires, but they could get a voltmeter and hold it in front of it and see if there's voltage there at least.
Yeah, or you can call an electrician. They can come put what's called a line tracer on there.
Or you could come and just touch wires to each other and melt the house down.
Well, that's called a breaker finder. If you don't know if your panel isn't properly labeled, that's what we call the breaker finder. Just touch the two wires together and then
see what trips.
That will tell you.
Hopefully the breaker still works. Otherwise, nothing trips and you burn the house down.
Well, then you're just in for a surprise, a little shock. That's all.
Yeah, good insurance. So yeah, Nick, there's a lot of things that the It might just be a switch, but there's a ton of things that could be on. I wouldn't really worry about it unless you need it for something, unless you need the space, like you're trying to put another light in or fan in, or you say you have a three-way switch and you want switch on both sides and you want to see if maybe it's not working. So a lot of times they're just there as spare spots, like Todd was saying, extra spots for other circuits that weren't used. So I wouldn't particularly worry about it.
Yeah, when they built the house, they may have forgot to run wire, or they're leaving it for you for future use.
Or you're out here in Tucson, like a lot of our homes built over on the west side were built by Joe and his buddy in a six-pack, and so it could just be a switch that does nothing.
More than likely, that's the case.
Well, Nick, mystery switches in a home are pretty normal, but if you're ever worried that something more might be wrong, you can always call your local trusted trade pro, have them come out and take a look.
Thank you for listening to Ask the Trade Pros. We release new episodes every other Tuesday, so be sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have a question you would like us to answer on the show, please leave us a voicemail or an email, and we may feature your question in an upcoming episode. That information is in the show notes. This podcast is sponsored by the good folks at Done Right Services. As always, thank you for your support.